Hi, it's Steve Malzberg. Hour number 3 of the show has arrived. How did that happen? Peter Brookes, of course, Senior Fellow of National Security Affairs at the Heritage Foundation. He will join us. We have a lot to talk about. New sanctions against some in Russia. We have news from Syria and much, much more. Obama trashing America while he's overseas. He's so good at that. Then the Malzberg panel once again. President of the Galen Institute, Grace Marie Turner, and radio host and author of The Big Black Lie, Kevin Jackson. Then Adam O'Neill, reporter for Real Clear Politics. All that, Gimme 5, and more on this hour of the Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax Television.
Ready? Fire away. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City. A fusion of politics, commentary, entertainment, and sports. Steve and his team bring you the latest news and opinion now. Here is Steve Malzberg.
The owner is reported to have said some incredibly offensive racist statements that were published. I don't think I have to interpret those statements for you. They kind of speak for themselves. Because people, when ignorant folks want to advertise their ignorance, you don't really have to do anything. You just let them talk, and that's what happened here.
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. The world's collapsing. Russia's not stopping. The Middle East peace talks are off. Syria, Assad is emerging stronger than ever. We had Dana Milbank of the Washington Post on Friday, who said that Obama's went to Seoul for sushi, and he's acting like a tourist instead of a president. And there's Obama finding time to talk about the NBA. Standing next to the president of Malaysia, whatever. It's just insane. Joining us now to talk about, everything but that, I guess, is our friend Peter Brookes. You know him, you love him, and former CIA officer, senior fellow at the National Security National Security Affairs at the Heritage Foundation. Hello, Peter.
Hey, Steve.
Good to talk to you again.
Good to
All
be
right,
here.
let's start with, I guess, the new sanctions as we look towards Putin. This is on Russian individuals and companies. And from what I hear, there's this big battle underway within the White House, and it is how far ahead of our European allies should the U.S. get? In other words, they're not doing much, the Europeans, so why should we do so much? I mean, where are we with this?
Well, we're not making a lot of progress from what I can tell. I think Putin is doing quite well. He's already taken Crimea. It's not clear whether he's going to take eastern Ukraine, but he's causing enough trouble for the new government when there are elections this month, remember, in Ukraine, that the place is very unstable. The potential for things to spin out of control, the potential for military clashes are all, right in front of us. And I don't think that the White House has really handled this very well at all. They're talking about some new sanctions, 7 officials, 17 companies, and interestingly, they're saying that Mr. Putin shouldn't take this personally. It's not about him.
They said that the first time he did this.
Exactly. I don't get it. I mean, I just don't get it. I guess they they kind of want to thump him in the chest a little bit, but they don't want to thump him too hard, and they're hoping he'll come around and do the right sort of thing. I just don't.
Peter, if only Obama could buy the guy breakfast and sit and talk with him, he could just cure Putin of whatever ails him.
A couple of cups of coffee, a diner, some English muffins, and he could talk him out of this. No, it's just not working. I mean, Putin made his measure of Obama a long time ago, and I believe, I can't channel Putin here, but I sense that he feels that the president and the United States is not willing to exercise international leadership. It doesn't really want to confront confrontations. And he may see the president as weak, and so he just continues to do what he's doing. I mean, it's such a farce in the sense that he's saying, we're not involved in any of this stuff that's going on in Ukraine, and everybody keeps telling me that these are all Russian soldiers without insignia, special forces types. So I really don't get it, and I don't think what I'm really worried about, Steve, is how this is going to reverberate around the world.
Right, because it's not just Putin looking at this; it's everybody.
Yeah, the Chinese. How are the Chinese going to see, what are they going to do in the East and South China Sea? I mean, the president is in Asia. You mentioned that. The fact of the matter is that if they see us being, weak on Russia, if they see us not willing to confront them, and of course our allies out there are asking the same sort of question. If the Chinese and the Japanese go at it over the Senkaku/Diaoyu Islands out there in the East China Sea, will the United States really back them up when it comes down to the crunch?
And of course, let's pivot to Syria, and that's a perfect example of the whole world watching. You and I have discussed over and over the red line that Obama drew and then redrew and denied he drew, and now I'm mad and let's go to Congress and I won't go to Congress, and the whole scenario. And of course now Assad is going to run for a third 7-year term. That's how much the U.S. has harmed him, and don't you think Putin, who supported Assad, was watching all that? Watching all that before he did what he did in Ukraine.
But they got the nuclear weapon. They got the chemical weapons.
Yeah, right. Sure.
And I'm not diminishing that. That's.
But they didn't get them all. I mean, they didn't get.
You're right, exactly. They got some of them out, but you talk about there are probably 150,000 people who have perished. The tide on the battlefield has shifted in the direction of Iran, Hezbollah, and the Bashar Assad regime. It's a humanitarian disaster, a strategic disaster. There are lots of bad actors there. It's the jihad, Have Jihad Will Travel crowd is heading there. There are training camps in Syria that I understand that our intelligence officials have said publicly for the purpose of training people to undertake terrorism in their home countries of origin, in places like Europe. And attack the United States. So, I mean, it's a terrible situation, and our interests are really, really being pushed there. And once again, I just see nothing good coming out of Syria at all.
No, all right. So there's Russia, there's Syria. We got.
How much time do you have?
Yeah, I know. We got plenty of problems in Asia as well.
Well, what's going on with Iran and its nuclear program?
Yeah, I was going to go to Egypt next, but let's go to Iran. No, let's go to Iran. Benjamin Netanyahu, today's Holocaust Memorial Day, and Benjamin Netanyahu talked about the Holocaust and talked about Iran, and I personally wish he would do something about it, because this talking gets him nowhere, just gets him closer to the inevitable of Iran having a nuclear weapon. But we found out that the U.S. discontinued some sanctions on Iran a couple of weeks ago, maybe it was last week, because they're adhering to the agreement. That's how they're behaving like good actors, good children. I mean, this is insane.
Yeah, well, I mean, the question is what sort of progress are really having on stopping those centrifuges from turning, and the possibility that Iran may actually explode or test a nuclear weapon, just like North Korea is talking about these days. I mean, we're living in an increasingly dangerous world, and absent American leadership, I mean, people sometimes say, well, why should we do it all? Well, we're not only doing it for others, we're doing it for ourselves. I mean, these are our interests. I mean, the world is so interconnected now that we have to. The world is looking to the United States for leadership, and it's not getting it. And the situation has just continued to get worse. With the exception, I would say, I was very glad to see they took action on that Al-Qaeda video recently in Yemen.
Yeah, they offed about 40 of them.
Yeah, that's all good, and that's the sort of leadership we need. But it can't be just about terrorism. It has to be about other challenges that we face.
All right, well, let's talk a little bit about Egypt, and I'm saving the Middle East, the Israel rather than Palestinians for last. Egypt, an Egyptian judge today sentenced 683 alleged supporters of the Muslim Brotherhood's ousted president, including the spiritual leader of the Muslim Brotherhood, to death for murder in a mass trial. Now, this has been denounced by the United States at every step. I mean, are they going to put these people to death?
I don't know. I mean, I said a long time ago when the Arab Spring started and everybody was so hopeful, especially the administration, I said, what happens if Egypt turns out to be less free than it was under Mubarak? And I was actually thinking about the Muslim Brotherhood being in charge. I didn't expect it was going to be that way. I mean, this Arab Spring thing, with the exception of probably Tunisia, has been a mess. I mean, Syria is part of the Arab Spring, too. And I just don't see us having a policy for the Middle East. It's in a way, it's no wonder the president wants to pivot away from South Asia and the Middle East to the Pacific, because things are so difficult there right now.
Absolutely. All right, I want you to talk to me about the statement made by John Kerry, who said that Israel, unless they sign a peace agreement with the Palestinian, runs the risk of becoming an apartheid state. Now, the implications of that language, of those words, in and of itself, in my view, can serve as incitement to the Palestinians. I mean, here's the same guy who I now call the Palestinian spokesman, John Kerry, who sat before Congress and said, Jewish state, Jewish schmate. It's not that important. Yasser Arafat said it was, so that's good enough for us. I mean, and he's also warned, isolation upon Israel in the past. He's warned of another intifada if Israel doesn't acquiesce in the past. I mean, what on earth is he doing?
Well, I can't channel him. I think he'll come to regret those words, and I don't think it's going to warm any hearts in Israel, right? And that's obviously part of the issue. I mean, things have not gone well for his diplomatic efforts there. Fatah and Hamas are together now, which is going to be an increasing challenge. There wasn't the progress he had promised early on, and I think that was those are regrettable words, and I think, once again, I think he'll come to regret them.
And then you have Abbas calling, believe it or not, the Holocaust a most heinous crime, but he said it kind of in the context of what Israel's doing to the Palestinians, and then Netanyahu came back and said, what good are those remarks talking about the Holocaust when you just signed an agreement with a terrorist organization who's committed to the destruction of the Jewish people in Israel?
Yeah. I mean, the situation in the Middle East is as dire as I've seen it in quite some time, and I have serious concerns about the administration's policies towards that important and strategic part of the world.
All right, I want you to listen. We played you the NBA portion of Obama's statement, standing next to the leader of Malaysia, and here's what he said. Talking about human rights in that country, and they need to go further and more progress, etc. But listen to what he said in this bite.
Malaysia, we constantly have to be on guard against racial attitudes that divide us rather than embracing our diversity as a strength. And I know that the people of Malaysia are committed to wrestling with those issues as well. We have to make sure that we stay on top of it, and we will.
All right. Well, he also said that in the United States we have a long way to go as well, and it just seems it's a habit with this president. You're not supposed, when the president's overseas, the old saying is nobody here from the other party is supposed to criticize him. Yet this president, almost from day one of the first term, has gone overseas and has managed to trash America everywhere he's gone.
Yeah, I just find that to be troublesome. I just think it's wrong. This is par for the course, though, right? How many times have we seen this, Steve? I mean, I kind of think back to the old Churchill, chestnut about this issue, and I'm not going to quote it exactly, but paraphrasing, he says, "I don't spend my time overseas criticizing the government back home. I save that time for when I'm back home to criticize them," and that's okay. I mean, that is, but I think that sort of thing should stop at the water's edge. And I think it's wrong for the president to criticize the United States overseas, and especially before a foreign audience. All
right. Look, Peter, always great to talk to you, sir. Thank you, and we'll speak to you soon. All right. Peter Brookes, ladies and gentlemen, Senior Fellow of National Security Affairs at the Great Heritage Foundation here on the Steve Malzberg Show. I mean, you think of it. Look at the stories I have here, will you? We have Syria's president running for his third 7-year term. So Obama showed him. We have Egypt just falling apart. I mean, thank God the Muslim Brotherhood is out of there. I will say that. Now the present government at least tries to protect Christians. You have the Middle East talks unraveled, yet you have John Kerry threatening basically Israel will become an apartheid state. Now that what that means, if they don't give in to his peace plan. You have Obama talking about new sanctions on targeted Russians and Russian companies, and at the same time saying, I don't have any idea if it's going to work. and then saying, by the way, Vladimir, nothing personal. And he's overseas talking about Sterling in the NBA. What's going on? What is going on? Could you say, can you spell incompetence? Media, I'm talking to you on the Steve Malzberg Show. Panel's next. Don't go away.